Well, howdy, everybody. And first off, let me make sure we're recording. Oh, we are. Okay, good. We are this time. And I'm Willem,
I'm Tim.
and this is another episode of Hear Me Out Pitch. Ugh. Yeah, last week, if you haven't noticed, but once again, you guys are. Maybe we'll go to every other week recording. I don't want to, but fate's been doing that twice to us. In the past 4 weeks, it, we did it for almost a full year of never missing, and this week's just been May. April and May have been a kick in the pants. But last week, I was stressing about over recording stuff. And ironically, I was so focused on the quality of this because I've been losing my mind. And almost 30 minutes into recording, quoting here, an episode, I looked down and realized we were in fact not recording. But we're here with a special episode, kind of to commemorate Star Wars Day, which was last week, but we're doing it now. Funny enough, me and Tim are both still wearing Star Wars shirts. Not the same, well, actually, technically, no, I'm wearing a different one.
I'm wearing the same one I wore yesterday.
Okay.
And that's because I only wore this for a few hours yesterday.
I mean,
it's a good look.
It's a good Darth Vader shirt, so you're good. You're good. But yeah, we're here to go to episode 9.
Yeah, this is my episode 9, Star Wars episode 9. On Facebook, I made a post, and I asked for title suggestions without giving any context, and I got 2.
Oh,
I
did?
actually got 2. So thanks, Ethan and Sam, for actually commenting and giving me ideas. Ethan's idea was Legacy's Oath, which is a pretty darn good. That's a pretty darn good name.
Oh.
And Sam also gave a pretty good one, War of the Galaxy.
Well,
I feel like that one would probably be better, maybe as a video game or a TV show, or maybe
it would because
but it works.
It does work. It works for Star Wars, but yeah, for a movie, that seems more like a series. I do like the name, Sam. Good job. The name I was playing around with at the time, and I got a little bit of context at the beginning, but I think after watching The Phantom Menace with you yesterday in theaters, oh crap. Nope, I should have written down. I had a really good one, and it was more based off of Kylo Ren, and kind of wanted to make him, I don't know. Well, I think I like Ethan's a lot, and in my head, I like it.
Legacy's Oath.
Legacy, Star Wars Episodes 9, Legacy's Oath. Slaps.
I have a few other titles. Last week, while we were quote unquote recording, well, not recording, we decided, and I should have gone back and looked, but we decided that my episode 7, that I can't remember if we named or not, is going to be titled Dawn of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's episode 7. Then we have episode 8, which was Shadow of the Force. I'm proud of that name. I'm really proud of that one. This episode, I've been playing around with a couple names. The Rise of Skywalker is the actual title for episode 9. And I feel like it fits. There's also Guardians of Peace, The Balance of Destiny, The Guardians of Balance, which I think fits the Jedi theme a little bit more, Echoes of Freedom, and now I think I'm considering Legacy's Oath.
I like the balance for some reason. Balance just yelled at me. What was the balance one again?
There was Balance of Destiny and Guardians of Balance. I kind of like Guardians of Balance.
Huh.
Or I could take Ethan's and cannibalize it, and it could be Oath of Balance.
I was going to say, or take Sam's. War of Balance.
War of Balance? Yeah, I don't know.
Or you can do it and have the two B sounds, Battle for Balance.
Battle for Balance?
No, two bubba,
That's very much like... That feels like Squadrons.
That would be a video game level,
it would be
for
like
sure.
It feels like a Starfighter video game.
I know there is a video game out there where you're a bunch of like elite stormtroopers, like it's like the Bad Batch, but it was like 15 years before that show was even thought of, and I want to play it. Mm-hmm. You could like control your squadron. It looks awesome. You can buy a remastered version of it. It looks awesome. But I would love, if I ever were to, this might be a very twisted one, but if I were to make a game for Star Wars, it would be a clone, and the first level, hear me out, and it's not going to be a gruesome one in the Jedi Temple, but it will be beginning of Order 66.
I've actually thought about that. That would be a really fun game, I think, playing as a clone trooper in Order 66. Because we have all of the stories, right, of the Jedi surviving Order 66, but what if you played as like a clone, a member of an elite clone task force sent to go hunt Jedi?
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. Essentially like the clone version of an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Just take your battalion and go.
Well, we'll have to go see Attack of the Clones, and when the 25th... Oh my gosh, I was talking with Tim and his wife, and I was like, I remember when this movie vaguely, like I'm talking like earliest memories. Like I was on the brink of turning 4, but I do remember how big of a deal it was. I also remember New Year's Eve 1999 very vaguely, because all I remember is the cool 2000 glasses. So, I'm old.
Yep. Yes, you are.
Well, we're both tired. We're making up for last week.
Yep.
So, are you ready to attempt again to dive into it?
Let's do it. And
So,
we'll play around with the title a little bit more. Once we get into it a little bit deeper, we can maybe nail down a title.
I think Oath of Balance.
Oath of Balance is a really good one. I do like that.
I think Oath of Balance, combining like a lot of what was going on.
Yeah, I'm writing that down.
I think Oath of Balance was like a perfect combination. But thank you, Ethan, for helping us workshop it. Mm-hmm. Or what was Ethan's original again? I'm so sorry.
Legacy's Oath.
I think Oath of Balance. Would it be Oath for Balance or Oath of Balance?
Oath of Balance.
Okay.
I think. In my mind, the Jedi are paladins. To put it into D&D speak, they're paladins. They make an oath. And when they fall to the dark side, they break their oath.
Did you like that? You like that little thing I sent you, right?
Yeah,
I've been thinking about it all day. Made me kind of happy. I love paladin stuff. I didn't realize that most of the heroes I really love are either paladin type heroes, or they are, because Batman, Spider-Man. No, Spider-Man would be a fighter. Anyway, we're not here to talk about D&D. We're here to talk about Star Wars.
Yep.
Episode 9.
Oath of Balance. I think we're gonna go with.
No, don't sue us.
I think we're gonna go with Oath of Balance.
I think Oath of Balance is good. I
think that name fits very well.
I applaud. I approve this message.
Yeah. Like all good Star Wars movies and shows, we're gonna start with the opening crawl. Which, if you don't know what that is, every good Star Wars movie starts with the opening crawl. And if you don't know what that is, go listen to the other episodes, the previous Star Wars episodes.
Or go watch a Star Wars movie.
Or go watch a Star Wars movie.
If you don't know what that, I think I can't think of any other movie that does an opening crawl.
No.
Not really.
I mean, Spaceballs, I think. But that's a spoof off of Star Wars.
Yes.
Anyway, the opening crawl, again, if you don't know what that is, it's the words at the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah, so every good Star Wars movie starts with that, and we're not going to be any different. My opening crawl is going to... the wording might be different. I might change a couple things, but this is what I'm working with at the moment. Kylo Ren has achieved ultimate power. With the power of the Force inhibitors, he was able to achieve a connection to the Force not seen in Force users before. The Uzun, under his command, have launched a full-scale invasion on Coruscant to stifle any hopes of stopping Kylo Ren's plans. Poe Dameron, Han Solo, and the mighty Chewbacca lead the fight against the invaders, while the Jedi prepare and train to face Kylo Ren and his army. Kylo Ren, now equipped with great power, has made his way to Exegol to build a more powerful weapon that will have the power to destroy whole planets. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker and his wife, Mara Jade, have followed Sek to Akiva, a remote jungle planet on the Outer Rim. And then that's the end of the opening crawl. It'll pull away from the screen for a little bit longer before we hear some starfighters fly by. We will not be hearing the TIE fighter scream.
Oh. It's my favorite sound in the world.
Yep. We'll see a black arrowhead-shaped Uzun ship fly across the screen, being shot at by 2 Jedi starfighters, 2 Jedi cruisers, a green one and a purple one. And the 2 Jedi cruisers will be chasing this Uzun ship as it makes its way down into the thick jungle below. They'll land on a small plateau surrounded by the thick jungle where a small squat building can be seen off in the trees. Very reminiscent of the entrance to the base on the Imperial base on Endor, where Han Solo and the others go to shut down the shield generator. They'll land, like I said, they'll land on the little plateau, or the Jedi cruisers will land on the small plateau next to the little black Uzun ship, and out from these 2 Jedi fighters will be Luke Skywalker and his wife, Mara Jade. And Mara Jade will turn to Luke and will say he was sloppy. He led us straight to the weapons factory. And Luke will reply something to the effect of, "Yeah, you're right. It was sloppy. It's probably a trap. Let's be careful." And Mara Jade will make some quip about, "I'm always careful," or something fun like that. And then they'll make their way down to the plateau, and of course we'll see R2-D2, and Luke will tell R2 to stay with the ship.
But he doesn't listen.
So of course R2 will follow. Anyway, they'll make their way down the side of the plateau which has just a ramp carved into it, some switchbacks, and they'll make their way into the jungle to go toward that little building. And while they're walking, Luke will keep looking up at the trees, and it'll be a moment where he just keeps looking up at the trees, and we'll all be wondering what he's thinking. Then he'll turn to Mara Jade and he'll say, "I keep expecting there to be a little village up there." And just kind of a little callback to Episode 6, on Endor. This planet is not Endor. It is a very different planet.
Is it swampy?
No, it's a jungle.
Okay. How you can say this is dumb, but I just imagined it for a split second. He's like, I just imagined, he's looking up. I imagined a village, the Ewoks, right? That's who he's talking about. But then, and he's like, also, it just feels so familiar, and you just, briefly, because Force Ghosts can do whatever they want. You just see this little old... it doesn't have to happen, but I just totally imagine he could look over and Yoda's like... and just gone. I just feel like in that moment, he just doesn't say a word to him. You just hear... and then he's just gone.
Or his laugh. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so they'll continue. They'll proceed to the entrance of the factory, where they will they'll be ambushed by a few Uzun carrying some blasters, and these blasters have these almost bayonet-like blades on the ends, that will be made of a force-resistant or a lightsaber-resistant material, similar to Beskar. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We don't know. It seems to be the same material that their prosthetic limbs are all made of. Because if you remember, the Uzun are these snake-like people with prosthetic arms and legs. And yeah, so they'll fight. It won't be a very long battle. It'll be fairly quick. Luke Skywalker with his green lightsaber and Mara Jade with her purple lightsaber cutting
Absolutely
down Uzun,
love that.
deflecting some blasters. And Mara Jade at one point will stop a blaster midair, and Luke will run up and then he'll smack that same blaster bolt back at the Uzun that fired it. Kind of like an impromptu lightsaber baseball.
Love it.
And then they'll enter the building, weapons drawn.
And you, just so that everyone can kind of get something that you mentioned, because last time we quote unquote recorded, this is about where this is literally where we about fell. So don't worry, I'm checking right now, Tim, and we are recording, so don't worry.
Good.
Okay, good.
I don't know if I could handle it this week.
I'm pretty sure Tim would. I might get cussed out today if that were to happen. Today might be the day.
Probably not.
But the blasters. You did mention that a little bit last time we talked, but
yes.
I don't think we haven't recorded that discussion yet. So what was the deal with the blasters?
These blasters are they're very sleek. They're very, very Uzun make. Very simple. Not a lot of parts showing. Not a lot of extra bits. A lot like the weapons we have, the guns that we have today. But there are these little bayonet knives on the ends that they use to fight melee, and they're able to they're able to stop a lightsaber for a few seconds before the lightsaber starts to melt them. They're made of the bayonet blades, at least, are made of a lightsaber resistant material like Beskar, that is able to repel the lightsaber blade. And so these Uzun can fight melee with the Jedi instead of just being cut down like, the B-1 battle droids in the Clone Wars. And yeah, we'll get a decent look at those. And when we're inside the factory, that's where they're building these weapons. And so we'll be able to see them, and at some point, Luke or Mara Jade, one or the other, I haven't decided yet, will make a comment about how much more annoying the Uzun are now that they have a blaster and what's essentially a knife in one weapon.
So they're a really they're adaptive little guys. They seem to be.
Yes, their whole thing is adapting.
You know, it's funny though because I kind of was not judgmental. I was skeptical. Is that the word? That's the word. Of these guys first. I'm like, this does not fit Star Wars at all. After watching Rawr again, jeez, just the type of aliens are out there. I'm like, nah, this could totally pass.
If you don't understand what that noise was, go watch the pod races again and watch specifically for the little green lizard dog dude right before he dies. That's the sound he makes.
I do not remember that being so. Point being, the race was nuts and it was good. It was a cute movie. It makes me just realize that at the beginning of his life, Darth Vader was just a slave boy who wanted to win at pod racing and help his mom.
Wanted to see the galaxy.
Yep. And he loved his mom. Okay, we could go off.
We could.
So, back to being inside this factory, which seems that showing that these guys are very versatile. Mm-hmm. Probably we're seeing stuff that they're getting ready to launch more weapons. They're just learning little smart little guys, and so they're kind of crazy. Yeah. I imagine they probably would have different, and you mentioned one briefly. Would it be smart to say that their mech suits are almost upgrading? Like you're starting to see like their suits are like either getting bigger or changing to adapt.
So each Uzun is slightly different, kind of like the battle droids in Clone Wars, right? Mm-hmm. Each has their own different markings or whatever, and a lot like the clone troopers as well. The different types of the clone troopers, their different specialties. They use different equipment, and that's the same as the Uzun. Some Uzun have upgraded themselves to have a little bit more armor to protect themselves. Some have a lot less armor, longer limbs, so that they can move a little bit faster. And there's others that are kind of a mix between the two. Some have extra limbs. Some have different things attached to them, different weapons attached to them, maybe. Like the B2 battle droids, the super battle droids, where they have the blasters in their arms. There will be a few Uzun that are kind of like that, where they've in their arms they'll have the blasters and the these blades that can repel lightsabers. But yes, over these three movies, I want them to begin to look more diverse and more menacing as they advance and as they gain access to more and more resources.
Would it make more sense to have their suits cover up their soft underbelly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That they do.
They do? Okay.
They do.
I've always imagined it. Imagine
in my original concept art that I drew forever ago when I first started writing episode 7. They were snake people that just had prosthetics attached to them that they could release from their bodies and slither away super quick.
Yeah.
And that original concept art had it almost like a rib cage.
Yeah. That
would just hold them in place. And I'm imagining as we've gone on, that it's more, they have now these permanent inserts just on the sides of their bodies that they can use to fit into just about any of the suits.
Ooh.
Kind of like, it's almost like at this point they're becoming Iron Man suits.
I imagine the thing at the back of Dr. Octopus's neck.
Yes, similar to that. Or
there's a lot you can play with. Have you ever? How well do you know? This might be very nerdy for some people. Bionicles. Do you know?
I'm very familiar with Bionicles.
Do you know the Rakshi?
I am familiar with the building blocks. I didn't get into like watching them or any of that, but I am very familiar with
There's these
how
weird
they
ones
look
that
and what they are.
if you press their head down, it would fling out a little bug-looking guy.
Oh, I have, yes, my parents have the parts for those.
I honestly imagined they would go inside a big mech like that at some point. Because they're
maybe
snake-like and, I don't know, just something that would protect them completely, and then their faces are just in the front like, so, just like that. So,
yes.
and that's what the Uzun sound like in my head now.
like a more derpy version of the Charlie Brown parents.
Yeah, but then when they put the helmet on, but then they learn English and it just sounds funny. They just sound like trolls.
Well, they speak Galactic Common.
Yeah.
Just the Galactic Common language.
English. I'm just kidding.
Which is essentially English.
Anytime I hear common in any fantasy or book, I'm like English because that's what I'm reading right now. I love it. Sorry, I am
because they are the way they are. They learn very quickly and they adapt very quickly.
They have to. They're just little tiny guys with no arms, no
they're
legs.
Not tiny. They're very large.
How big are they?
Head to tail, they're probably like 9 feet.
Tim, their whole body's a tail. I'm just
9 to 12 feet. You're not wrong, but like 9 to 12 feet depending.
Holy crap! I've honestly been imagining 4 foot.
No, they're huge. They're tall.
Oh. Okay, Tim. I've honestly been like thinking of like these 5 foot, 6 foot, and then when they get inside, like they're 4 foot when they're snake form, and then they get in these like 6 foot, 7 foot machines. So it's still pretty big. But you're saying they're like, so all of them are like these 8 foot plus things. Mm-hmm. What do they have? They probably would have smaller ones though. It's like you have little common grunts, bigger. Yeah. And then big mamas.
The bigger these guys are, the more they take on that more tanky look, where they put more. They have more plating, more armor.
Oh, they have like breeding. I don't even want to know what these guys do. Or they like Urukai. They just make them in the mud.
I don't know. I'm not gonna worry.
I'm gonna go with Urukai, and then they've just been breeding them to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about figuring out how they reproduce. I don't care.
I kind of
do.
I kind of do. I'm
probably eggs.
I kind of like the
snakes.
Urukai idea. Make them in the mud, and they just do everything right. And then this giant 11 foot yes, and they immediately put it in a mech suit. That would be terrifying. Yep. What is your mission? Destroy Jedi. You're like, yeah! Whatever he says to the Urukai.
Anyway, Luke and Mara Jade will go inside after having defeated the these 4, maybe 6 Uzun that have jumped out, and they'll proceed carefully. And they'll follow a. Wow, I was tired when I wrote these notes. I misspelled tunnel. Right. I am going to put something into perspective now because I'm going to forget later. If Luke is level 20 and Mara Jade is level 17, maybe 18, Kylo Ren with the Force inhibitors, because in the last episode he collected them and took, he used them to become all-powerful. He is level 30.
Oh.
With the Force inhibitors. He is supercharged. But yeah, so they'll go inside, and they'll follow a hallway into a large armory room with a few doors on the sides, and then bigger door straight ahead. And this will be an armory. You'll see weapon racks everywhere, and there will be a handful of Uzun, wielding blasters, and they'll come after Luke and Mara Jade, and it's a little tighter quarters, so the blasters are probably going to have a little bit easier time, if they're across the racks or whatever. But again, it's not very much of a challenge. And they'll continue after they'll destroy the Uzun, and then they will look at each other, and Luke or Mara Jade will motion to the big door in front of them and say, "Shall we?" And they'll go inside, and then they'll make their way deeper into the factory, and they'll come into a very, very large area, very reminiscent of the droid factory on Geonosis and the Duel of the Fates area on Naboo, which is a very large factory with lots of platforms for monitoring how progress is going, etc. And they'll make their way into the center, where there will be large control panels surrounding a very large energy reactor, very, very similar to the Duel of the Fates. The energy beams going up and down.
Love it.
If you couldn't tell, I like the nostalgia factor that so I'm putting a lot of that kind of stuff into this, because I feel like that's what this episode 9 should have been, was a little bit more nostalgia factor.
Because this could have been a big love letter to everyone, a big thank you. So kind of going through all the movies in some way, just having little peeks at everything that's happened so far would be awesome. So maybe sometime during this we'll see clone armor. I don't know. But, just... I like that. I appreciate it. Because it's something that the characters don't catch, but the audience does. And that's fine. But it feels natural.
And it feels familiar.
Yeah. And that's what we want.
Immediately draws you in. So yeah, they'll come to this. It'll be a very large platform. And they'll be looking around and nothing. You hear the machinery working in the background, and they'll walk up to the control panel, and Mara Jade will ignite her lightsaber and cut through it, and that'll shut off not the reactor, but it'll shut off a lot of the machinery. It's not the only energy source. It's not the only area where the machines are being controlled. But a large section of the machinery you'll see go dark, turn off. And
she slices it. Oops.
Yeah, maybe. And of course, Luke and Mara Jade will be having conversations and stuff. I don't know what they'll be talking about, but I feel like, if they're having some conversation, that would be good. I am not the greatest when it comes to dialogue, so someone else can fill in the blanks.
I feel like it would be, if I can just interject like a few things, it would be about, of course, the two new Jedi they have. Kylo, not Kylo, Ben Solo. I need to remember that he is not Kylo in yours.
The two newest are Rey and Finn.
Yeah, but they would be talking about Rey and Finn and be talking about him. They'd also be talking about, maybe just for craps and giggles, like, do you still think Chewie is upset with his new arm? And he's like, of course he is. He hates it here. And, I think she would probably be reading in his mind how nervous he is. You've mentioned this. He's rebuilt the Jedi Order. And once again, the Jedi Temple was your last movie. It was in shambles. He had all those children looking to him. And it was, I can't think about that scene too much, but, it was a mirror of what happened with his father. Instead of being a destroyer, he's a savior. And so I just feel like they would be talking about so many stuff. Luke would probably be terrified Mara being an assassin like she used to be, and his, confidant, she would probably be very cool about it, giving him advice. She's not as worried. She's more optimistic, maybe. Ironically, of her being an assassin. But I feel like when you are, and I'm not married, but I just feel like, but I have had partnerships with projects and serving an LDS mission, and I feel like whenever one of you is having a bad day, the other one can't. That's how it kind of works.
That is very much how it works. Being married for almost a year.
I know, it's coming up.
In 11 days it'll be a year.
Wow. That's right.
I'm excited. But having been married for almost a year, it's put into perspective, the amount of partnership you have to have in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's been great because, my wife suffers from severe depression and anxiety, and so I help her. When she's down, I help her do things, and I feel like that's how Luke and Mara Jade are.
It would definitely be if they are that freaked out. Luke definitely is, and I wouldn't say he's necessarily.
I wouldn't say he's scared. I'd say he's more.
He feels the pressure,
frustrated and pressured, and I think Mara Jade would be trying to help him. It's all right. We've got this. Trust in the Force. Yeah. Yada yada yada.
Like, I feel like she would do. I totally feel like she would have cut the power supply, go oops, and look over at him, and he's just. And that would that would spark the discussion of what is wrong, and he would be like,
I think that conversation would come later.
Okay.
Because right now, she cuts the power, and the reactor will flicker for a moment, but it'll keep going strong. The reactor beam, and then Sek will jump down. And Sek, if you remember, is that General Grievous type Uzun, the forearms.
He's one of their main guys.
He is the main guy. He is in charge of
wow,
the
and oh yeah, because they followed him here.
Yeah, they followed him.
I'm not paying attention.
He's the reason they came here in the first place. He was sloppy. He led them here.
Oh, he really was? It wasn't a trap?
It's a trap. I mean, it was.
Okay.
he led them to his domain where he is...
Home field advantage.
Yeah. He's familiar with this place. Anyway, so he'll jump down behind them and he'll, start to monologue, as villains do, and he'll start talking about how the Jedi can't win, and Kylo Ren has made upgrades to himself like a true Uzun.
He also has one of those rods, correct?
He did.
He did? Oh.
Doesn't anymore. He had it so that he could fight. I can't remember who he was fighting.
He was fighting Leia and Rey.
Yes.
Jeez, Tim, you made this up, and I remember
that was a while ago.
Well, it was I love that scene. It was for Leia and Rey to see this mechanical spider snake person put in a random rod of what was it? It was it's a
force inhibitor.
Yeah,
it's just it's just like a little steel rod, like 6 inches long. Oh yeah,
we joked about it. Beskar Inquisitors. That would be terrifying.
Yeah, it would.
Beskar and ooh. Anyway, that's good. Anyway.
Yep.
But he's there, ready. It's a trap. He's ready to get him.
Yep. But he'll be talking about how Kylo Ren is going to rule the galaxy, with the Uzun under his control. As his task force to, as his task force to roll out all of his designs so that he has full control. And he will then point to himself with one of his forearms, and he will say, "But I've also made upgrades." And then his tail will whip around, and we'll see on the end of his tail, we'll see this this armor piece that wraps around just on one side, on the left side of his tail, and it comes into a little ball at the end.
Ooh.
Just a very small golf ball sized ball at the end of his tail, made of metal, and he will he'll draw 4 lightsabers, General Grievous style. We'll see one of the lightsabers is red, 2 are blue, 1 is green, or any mixture of the blue and green.
Y'all just imagine in your head.
Very, very reminiscent of General Grievous. I love General Grievous as an enemy, and I want this fight to be very reminiscent. It's the very beginning of the 3rd installment of this trilogy, just like Episode 3. It's a 4-armed dude surrounded by his soldiers, which at this point we will see several Uzun pop out with their blasters at the ready, and a couple will have lightsabers. Not very many of them at this point. Most have been equipped with blasters. They're easier to manufacture because kyber crystals are not very common.
No.
He'll whip around his tail toward Luke, and a steel cable like thing will fly out of the tail, becoming a whip, a light whip, which is essentially a lightsaber. Think of Whiplash in Iron Man.
Yeah.
In Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that.
Okay.
In his tail.
Because his tail got cut off. A little bit of it did, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So we'll see, yes, there's a chunk of the tail that is all metal, right?
Okay.
And that has become now the vessel for a light whip.
I just imagine, though, before he I don't want to say whips it out, because everyone will just chuckle all dirty. Y'all are gross.
Uh-huh.
And, but I imagine he'll, like, bring his tail around before he ignites it, and Mara Jade will just be like, not very, like, she'll just say something snarky, like, "Oh no, it looks so scary," or it's like, "Oh, cute," like, just say something.
Oh no, a tail.
Oh no, a tail. Like, did someone cut off your tail? Like, just say something. I just imagine just snarky, witty response in some way, just trying to make him feel bad, because it's like, looks like Leia did a good job with your tail. She missed a spot, like just something dumb like that. And then he's like, and then and it looks like, shut up, stop talking.
Yep. But yeah, then they'll fight. They'll just go into the fight.
We fight.
He'll start with the whip, and he'll whip it towards Luke, and Luke will parry it to the side with his lightsaber. And then they'll jump in, and it'll be just a good cross between the Darth Maul fight and the General Grievous fight.
I just need one part, and this could even be at the very beginning when she makes the witty response, where whips it out. Sorry, I tried so hard to say that with a straight face. He whips his tail out, and it stops, like, inches in front of him, and Luke's like, "Oh." And then that's when he hits it, and they start fighting. So, something like that. I don't know why that kind of stuff pleases me.
I think instead of that, because that's more taunting, I'm thinking the whip, flies out at maybe Mara Jade, and Luke uses the Force and
catches it right before her face.
And so she's able to get out of the way, and then Luke uses the Force and maybe pulls Sec, and then he falls off the platform onto a platform below.
Many things.
And then I'm imagining that this fight will end up very similar to the Darth Maul and General Grievous fights.
Luke's gonna die? I'm just kidding.
No, where there's several. No, Nobody's dying
Yet.
yet.
Dun dun dun.
But they'll end up fighting on several different levels. And the Uzun will be firing at them, and they'll be deflecting the blaster bolts back at the Uzun, and a couple times we'll see Luke and Mara Jade stop a blaster bolt, and then maybe Sek will run into it, and just carried momentum, and stuff like that. I think could be really cool.
I want the baseball idea.
I want to focus a lot more with this fight on them using the Force. Using the Force to grab things. Maybe they grab a couple machines and fling them at a bunch of the Uzun, firing at them.
We
stop a bunch of blaster bolts, fling them back, baseball style.
Yeah.
I'm imagining maybe at one point Luke tries to Force pull one to him. And the Uzun are supposed to be very force resistant, like very force resistant. You know how in episode 1, Watto's like, Toydarians are immune to Jedi mind tricks.
What do you think?
The
you
Jedi
are,
mind tricks
kind of
don't work
Jedi?
on Toydarians.
Love it. Love that scene.
Imagine that, but like all force effects. Most force effects do not work on them at all. Another really good comparison is if you've seen the Clone Wars, there's an episode where Cad Bane is captured, and he's a bounty hunter with big cowboy hat.
Blue guy, right?
Yeah, he's the blue guy
He's got very sharp teeth.
Yes, and he's got the tubes going into his neck so he can breathe in outer space, and so force choke doesn't work on him and stuff. But yeah, there's an episode where he's captured by the Jedi, and then it's Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Mace Windu, and they're all using the Force, trying to manipulate him.
I think I've seen that scene.
Cad Bane is starting to fail.
So why is he able to... Why are some people able to resist? Why are some species...
It's the strength of will. Imagine, I'm going to, again, put it into Dungeons & Dragons terms, it's a saving throw. It's a wisdom saving throw, and some people have a higher wisdom saving throw score than others.
So is Jabba just is the Hutt species naturally very, very wise then? Because most of the Hutts
I think they'd have more advantage on saving throws against
They just say
like
because of what their species is. Mm-hmm. And also, we have to admit it to Hutts, they're not stupid.
No, they're not. There's a reason they run crime syndicates.
They're scary.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a picture of what they look like when they're not fat?
When they used to be a warrior race.
Yep.
And they used to have these little centipede legs that would carry them around, and
it's terrifying. I'm like, oh jeez, could you
there
imagine
was a Hutt Jedi at one point?
Oh jeez, that's crazy. But I have crap. I had something and I lost it. It was for the fight. It was about this, and I can't remember it. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I'll probably remember it.
We'll get to it. But yeah, they'll continue to fight, and then the fight will last a little while, and then they'll come to the main reactor at the bottom, which is coming out of this very large dome. This is where all of the controls are for the whole factory.
So it was a gamble to bring the two Jedi here, but also because most likely, honestly, Luke and Mara Jade might not make it out alive, because that's a lot of people to fight. But if they do it successfully, they're gonna cripple their army very badly. So
yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot. It's a lot of risk and reward right there, and I like it. I like those type of situations for both teams.
Yes.
So I like that sort of situation.
Mm-hmm. They'll be fighting down at the very bottom, and at this point, they'll be caught in a blade lock. Both of them, or the three of them, will be caught in two separate blade locks, where Sek has Luke blade locked with 2 of his lightsabers, and then Mara Jade with his other 2. And he will end up whipping both Luke and Mara Jade, knocking them to the side, and they will end up dropping their lightsabers. And Sek will have them both cornered, and then he'll monologue for a second, how the Jedi, the mighty Jedi fall.
You don't learn to adapt. You're not smart. You're a species that is always willing to just stay the same. Like something like that.
Something like that.
That's all I imagine.
Maybe something more like, they say humans are very good at adapting to their surroundings, but that takes time, and that's something you don't have. Or something like that.
I just think, like, adapting. Like, this is a species that is obsessed with adapting to survive, whatever their story is. I think it's a very...
They're the ultimate adapters.
Yeah. That you throw like 5 of these little guys in the Arctic, 2 will make it out, but they'll
make it out, and they'll always forever be able to survive.
They'll just be on fire from now on permanently. You're like, oh, jeez. That'd be awesome. They're just these little adaptive little guys. They can't, like, grow limbs, but they'll figure out something. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like them.
Yeah, he'll be about to finish them off, and then Luke and Mara Jade will lock eyes, and they'll both smile and nod, and they'll turn back to Sek, and they will 2 hands each force push Sek into the reactor.
Okay.
Into the reactor beam.
Oh.
And that will end up, and his lightsabers will fly, and cut into the control panels, and Sek will die. This is how Sek dies. Is he? Not going back.
We're not going back, Tim. I can't go back.
But Sek will be thrown into the reactor, and it's very similar to in Wreck-It Ralph how King Candy dies, where he'll be thrown in, and it's I guess a better image would be Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The star wall thing. Every time I see that scene, I only think of Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. But there's the star wall that starts pulling them up into oblivion, and that's kind of what this reactor beam is doing to Sek. And as he's going up, he yells something like, "You might have defeated me, but Kylo Ren has adapted himself beyond what anyone else can." And then he'll just evaporate. He'll just be incinerated.
So maybe, I feel like there might be a pull from this thing because it's a very powerful beam. It might have like a pull against him in some way.
I'm thinking he's using his tail to, like, as a whip. He's whipped himself to maybe Luke, and then Luke is hanging on to a railing. He's got it around his elbow while Sek is making this.
I honestly feel I feel like maybe instead of him, like he could be like, "You think you've won," blah, 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 or maybe, and I just imagine, and I don't know why, I feel like Mara Jade would be the one to say it. Either Luke or her would be the perfect one, but at the end, one of them would just say, "Well, adapt from this," because he was making that big deal. Adapt from this, and then they throw him in, and then.
Well, they can say that, and then cut the whip.
Yep.
What's holding him? Cut his tail off. What's holding him down?
Maybe you need to learn how to adapt.
Yep.
Oh. Why are they able? So Luke is 20, level 20. Mara Jade, pretty up there. We kind of talked about it yesterday. Luke, if he's anything like his father, doesn't really have to look at things to really fling things. So if Luke is fully concentrating, using his whole body into a force push, he's probably going to make an impact even with Mara Jade helping him. They can probably throw him enough. So I guess I was kind of imagining them
they're on the ground. And
how far away is he? Because I was thinking, so is he like standing in front of the beam?
Yes.
Like kind of taunting?
So there's the beam, and then there's Sek in front of the beam, and then Luke and Mara Jade are on the ground on the opposite side of Sek from the beam.
Okay.
And that's when, they use the Force, and they force push him into the reactor beam.
So they were just able to push him just enough together, which still means that they're that hard to push.
Yes.
Because if it was just like me or you, we would have been like waned and just squash tomato thing. Yeah. Anyway, so okay, because in my head I was like, how far away is he? What was it? Okay,
not that incredibly far.
Okay, but just enough that he let his guard down. Mm-hmm. They work together, and okay. So now that they've done that, how do they get out? Because I'm assuming his henchmen are still around.
Well, as they've been fighting, they've been slowly destroying the Uzun as they fight Sek, and Sek sometimes will sacrifice a few of his soldiers, grab them and throw them at the two Jedi or something.
One of them has to make the Wilhelm scream.
Yes. Yep. Always.
Actually, no, it's not going to be the Wilhelm scream. It's going to be the "Rawr" from the it gets cut in half by Luke. That should be the new Wilhelm scream for Star Wars movies. It should be the Wilhelm scream and the "Rawr" for the rest of them. Has to be in it.
But yeah, so there's still going to be a few Uzun around, but they just watched their leader get destroyed. And so, obviously they're gonna continue to fire on them because no mercy, and you can't adapt if you let the destruction of your leader. Like if you let the destruction of your leader stop you, then you're not going to adapt.
Cut off one head, two more take its place. Not the same thing, but
I mean, kind of.
Kind of, or more like cut off the head. One's going to grow back real fast.
Yeah,
because they need to adapt. Mm-hmm. They're a very adaptive organism. I really am starting to like these guys a lot more. The more I've been thinking about it, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. But Luke and Mara Jade are going to get up. They're going to, force pull their lightsabers to them. And maybe they'll grab one of Sek's lightsabers, a couple of Sek's lightsabers. I don't know.
Probably any of the ones that are of Jedi that Luke knew, he would do his best to.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll let Dave Filoni choose. No, but. They'll then go in with the lightsabers and they'll just start hacking away at the control panel, and they'll end up causing the control panel to fry and start to explode, and then the power beam. Luke will point to a specific console and say to Mara Jade, that's the beam regulator. If you kill that, the whole place will go up. Are you ready? Mara Jade will go up to it, turn to him. You ready? Ready as I'll ever be. And then Mara Jade will say the classic, "I've got a bad feeling about this."
Aww.
Every single Star Wars movie has to have that.
Oh my gosh.
Every single one has had it.
Yep.
And then she'll cut it, and it'll start to explode, and they'll run. They will take off, and they will end up, they'll fight a couple more Uzun on their way out, but their main focus is escaping.
But this is not the only base of the Uzun?
This is the big factory that supplies their their blasters and just the weapons, not their armor, not their ships.
So is it like the... So it is like...
This is like the weapons factory.
Okay. Only one?
Yeah.
Well, if it's on
the big one.
Okay.
They only really need the one.
Yeah.
If it's protected the way it was.
And if it's on a certain planet that has all the materials, they probably want to stay on that planet. So they probably would try to get as much. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure it like. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
The point of this is just to hear the main plot. I'm sorry. I keep like go deep diving.
You're
It's
fine.
like no, we just want to hear the main plot. Willem, shut up.
You're fine.
Okay.
It just means we'll have a part 2.
Yeah, that's only like the first like 30 to 40 minutes right now. Not even 30 minutes, maybe
25 minutes, maybe 20 to 30.
And it's been over an hour of the podcast. That's okay. That's why we do the show. This is fun.
Yep.
We haven't had a good episode in a fat minute, so I don't want to hear it. And I think we sound fabulous. So there.
But yeah, so they'll escape, and it'll be close. But as they escape, they'll both turn around and use the force to push the explosion upward instead of outward. To stop it from completely just incinerating the trees. Just straight up. So the explosion goes up and burns the trees in the immediate vicinity, but not the whole jungle.
Yeah.
And then they will... Luke will turn to Mara Jade and will say, I really hope Ben and Finn are having a better time, or are faring better than we are. And then we'll cut to Ben and Finn.
I love those crossfade transitions. I don't care. It might be stupid, but it just screams Star Wars, and I love it.
Yep. We'll cut to Ben and Finn, and they will be fighting a bunch of Uzun.
What colors have you... Because I really just feel like Finn is a nice blue, but I think you had it different, or did you?
No. Finn has a blue lightsaber.
But does Ben...
Ben has a purple.
Ben also has a purple.
Ben and Mara Jade are the only two that have purple, aside from Mace Windu, but he's dead.
Mace Windu. So he's dead in your head. You think he's dead?
At this point, he would be dead.
Okay.
If he survived,
he would have
through Order 66 after getting thrown out the window and all that, he wouldn't have survived all the way to the fall of the Empire.
Okay. He would have been really old. You're right.
He would have been really old, and at that point, we would have at least heard from him.
Yeah,
he would have shown up.
You're right. So.
And he doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they'll be fighting some Uzun soldiers in a hangar bay that, if you've seen Clone Wars, looks very familiar. This is going to be they're going to be on a Venator class starship, which is the Clone Wars version of a Star Destroyer. It's going to be very old. We'll see. There'll be a bunch of spots that have been replaced with newer sections, including the bridge. But yeah, anyway, Ben and Finn will be fighting some Uzun soldiers in the hangar bay. We'll see a couple Uzun ships that are destroyed and burning, and we'll see several other soldiers, some rebel quote unquote rebel fighters, Republic soldiers, fighting along with. We'll see some dead, etc. And Ben and Finn will end up defeating the Uzun soldiers. One of these soldiers will have a lightsaber. The others will all have these blasters with the bayonet knives on the end. And they're less like knives and more like cleavers.
Yeah.
Like they're big blades. They've got some weight to them.
For anyone who's played Gears of War, I'm imagining not a chainsaw, but a blade. And a little protruding out a little farther, so it's scary.
They'll end up defeating the Uzun, and then they will, they'll use Finn and Ben will use the Force and push the Uzun ships out of the airlock, through the little airlock force field thing, wander up, and they'll meet some of the crew, and they'll talk about, and they'll go up to the bridge, and they'll meet with a bunch of the crew, including a familiar face, a certain Admiral Akbar.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because he did not die.
Did not die. Oh. And they'll talk about, they'll say, that was the last of the ships. We took out the whole fleet. They followed us into the bay, and we took them out. They're done. That's the last of the Uzun in this system. And Admiral Akbar will pipe up and say, "Well, that's good because we got another distress signal from the Lorat system." And so they'll do the whole process where they'll talk for a moment, and they'll talk about some strategy and how they've been able to destroy several fleets of Uzun in different systems to free these systems, bring relief to these systems. They'll talk about how we got to go free the Lorat system now, and then hopefully by then we have enough sympathetic people who are sympathetic to us and who are equipped enough to take back Coruscant, and then they'll enter light speed or hyperspace, and then while they're in hyperspace, or maybe before they're in hyperspace, they will end up talking about how Sek has gotten away too many times, and they will mention that maybe one of the crew, and I know some people listening would be extremely happy. We could see big, gray beard, mostly bald head with a scar on a certain part in the top, wearing clone armor marked in blue.
Oh.
We'll see Captain Rex.
Oh. He would be very old, though. Don't they age differently?
He would be very old, yes.
Like, they age terribly.
Uh-huh.
No. That was only the one faulty clone, right?
No, they age twice as fast.
Yeah. So that's kind of pushing it, Tim.
Yes and no. The thing about Captain Rex is, one, he shows up in Star Wars Rebels, which in the last season of Rebels, that happens not too long before the Battle of Yavin, before Episode 4. The Battle of Yavin is where they blow up the first Death Star.
Okay. Well, it's been what, 15 to 20 years?
It's been a while after that.
So he looks just like that Fives clone now. Is that the name?
You mean
of that
99?
99. Is that his name?
Not quite that old. I don't know. I don't know. We might not see Captain Rex.
I'm not trying to give you crap. I just don't want people to get mad at you for. I think seeing Captain Rex. I haven't watched the show, and I think Captain Rex would be awesome. But seeing a clone in any way.
Ethan was the one who actually gave me the idea to throw in.
Rex was one of the.
In Episode 4, there is a gentleman. An older gentleman in a white beard. No, Episode 6. Sorry. In Return of the Jedi, there's an older gentleman on Endor who a lot of people speculate is Captain Rex. Might not be. I don't know.
I don't know if he was thought of back then, but I think because Captain Rex is one of the he's the epitome of. He is exactly what the clones were not supposed to be. He is something that showed that the clones really did. That some, if not all of them, because it was
the clones were their own people. They
didn't want to kill the Jedi. They didn't, and I don't care if anyone's like, "Oh, they did want to." Like, no, they didn't.
No,
they didn't.
It was an order. They were.
It was
forced.
60.
They were forced to. If you watch, in the Clone Wars, the final season, season 7, there is an episode where we see Order 66 happen with Captain Rex and Ahsoka Tano. And it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's
the idea of that there were clones fighting their brothers during the Order or after, that most likely all the good clones, quote unquote, that they just killed each other off, and then the Emperor said, "No more clones."
Yeah, pretty much. Which
is so sad. But also, like, we've talked about clones. I have a weird beef with clones, kind of like AI. It's very weird to me, but I think I'd be more comfortable with clones than humans. I mean, clones than AI, because at least to me, those are people. Because even if you took my DNA and you made a perfect carbon clone of me, that's not me. It would just be, he would be my little brother. I'd be so excited. I'd be like, oh my gosh. I don't want that, though. Please don't put that responsibility on me. I am not ready for that. But anyway, for craps and giggles, I am totally down with him being there. But I will say that it might be far-fetched.
He might be a little old, but I don't care.
Okay, that's fine.
This is my canon.
Even if he's like brought up in a wheelchair and you see him like become like a Yoda type character, like, you know, it might be a trap, right? Like, just anything, like, you know, just, and you have to, and just, it would be so ironic for Rex to say that to General Akbar. That'd be so funny. You know, it might be a trap. Did you just say my line? Sorry, Tim.
No, you're good.
But I just thought that I would love to see Rex. I just don't want people to be mad, like, well, that's kind of pushing it. So.
Yeah, well,
it's Tim's story.
You know
what?
Can
just deal with
Shut
it.
up. It's mine.
Don't know
my canon.
We have to talk like the guy from It's a Wonderful Life for the rest of the episode. Well, I think you need to just get in order, Tim. Sorry, I'm done.
I forgot why we were talking about Captain Rex.
Because you put him in here.
Right, but I forgot why.
Because they were going into warp speed to go to that other system that is distressed.
Right, the Lorat system.
Yeah.
I had a reason why he was saying something or doing something. I don't remember. Anyway.
Just cameo. Here you go,
everyone. Cameo. He'll pop up.
Captain Rex.
The eagle-eyed viewers will notice him. You know, they'll. It's the DiCaprio meme.
Yep. I'm down for it. I just don't.
Yeah. But then, yeah. So they'll talk about going to the Lorat system, and then they'll talk. And at this point, you'll see in episode 8, Finn had the Padawan braid, and in this one, you'll notice he's missing the Padawan braid.
Oh.
And he'll end up talking to Ben and Captain Rex, and they'll Ben will mention to Finn that he's gotten a lot better at lightsaber combat since he became a Jedi Knight, and he's able to do more missions on his own and learn for himself. And Captain Rex will pipe up and be like, "You also got better at flying." You remind me of a general that I served. I got to serve under in the Clone Wars. A nod to Anakin. being the best pilot in the galaxy. And they'll talk about they'll talk about how Sek has gotten away too many times, and it seems to be and Captain Rex will pipe up and be like, yeah, he really seems to be a repeat of General Grievous from the Clone Wars. Just to be funny, kind of throw in the
I feel like
verbal cameo.
Robot arms, robot body, 4 arms. Jedi's can't get him.
Yeah,
it's another
keeps
Grievous.
escaping. Too slippery.
He totally would.
Yep. And they'll talk about how they've got to free the rest of the galaxy from the Uzun occupation so that they can have so that they can build a bigger army to actually fight against the Uzun on Coruscant, around Coruscant, because they've like I said in the opening crawl, the Uzun have launched a full-scale invasion on Coruscant. So if you've ever played Jedi Survivor, the very first quote-unquote chapter is on Coruscant, and you see the Imperial occupation on Coruscant. You fight 1,000,000 Imperials, and you end up escaping after fighting a ton of clone troopers or stormtroopers, and I'm imagining that's the same thing that's happening, except with the Uzun, and it's the beginning of the occupation. It's not 15, 20 years into it.
No, it's the beginning of an occupation. They've full on taken over a place. It's the awkward beginning where it's like they won, it's in shambles, but they're making themselves a home side of things. So, yeah, I can imagine it. Sounds awful.
Yeah. So they'll talk about how they need to free the rest of the galaxy from the Uzun occupation so they can focus all of their energy on Coruscant and have more resources feeding that campaign from the outer systems. And then Admiral Akbar will come in and he'll say, hey, we've got an incoming transmission. They'll go up to the bridge and they'll arrive in the holo projector room, and they'll on the bridge, and they will see a hologram of Leia and Rey. And they'll be talking to a few of the crew, and they'll mention something about most people are just done with war and want nothing to do with us anymore. And some people are still upset from the Empire, and they're upset that we freed them from the Empire. And then they'll turn to Finn and I almost said Finn and Jake. This isn't Adventure Time.
What time is it?
Star Wars time.
Oh.
Finn and Ben. And they will explain, or Finn will say, how's your mission going? Have you been able to convince any systems join us? And Rey and Leia will, they'll trade off lines, and they'll just explain that they were able to convince 2 systems to supply ships and soldiers, but not nearly enough to take on Coruscant. And then they're going to need a lot more help if they're going to help Han, Poe, and Chewie. And then Luke and Mara Jade will join the transmission, and we'll have them, split up. So we have
I forget that they don't use like TVs. They use the projectors. So I full almost imagine looking up at a screen, and now I'm like, oh wait, no, it's projectors. Okay, sorry, continue.
But they'll join, and Leia will turn to Luke and say, "Hey, how'd your mission go?" And Luke and Mara Jade will explain that they were able to defeat Sek, that he's gone, and that they were able to destroy the weapons factory on Akiva. And Finn and Ben will tell them that most of the Uzun fleets in the inner systems have been taken care of, but the blockade around Coruscant is nearly impenetrable. And Luke will tell them that Han, Poe, and Chewie are already on the ground on Coruscant, and they're doing what they can to keep the capital Uzun free. But some help would definitely help, or would definitely benefit them. And Ben and Finn will agree, but they'll say that they've got a distress signal from the Lorat system that they need to go check out. And Rey will pipe up and explain that Han, Chewie, and Poe will just have to hang on until they can make it back with the two fleets they've been able to build. And they might be able to break through, but they won't be able to defeat the entire Uzun invasion. And Luke will say that they need to track down Kylo Ren so they can figure out his plans to stop him.
Dun dun.
And then we will cut to black, and then lightsaber noises, and we will see red lightsaber blades flashing against blue and green. And we'll pan out, and we will see Kylo Ren fighting two Jedi on
Bob and Steven
on another planet. Bob already died. Bob died in episode 5 or episode 7.
This is his apprentice Bobby.
Yes, this is Jedi Bobby and Jedi Stefan.
Bobby and Stefan, defend us, save us, Bobby and Stefan. You are our only hope.
And they will be fighting, and Kylo Ren is just absolutely destroying them.
Oh, you have to have some other Jedi in his
we'll
wake.
we will see several other Jedi, about half a dozen fallen Jedi, and these two Jedi, they're a little bit older. They look to be more Jedi Masters, on that Jedi Master level, and they will lose. We will see Kylo Ren cut down the one first, and as he cuts down Jedi Bobby, we'll see his forearms at least are bare, and we can see in his forearms, embedded in the forearm, we can see the Force inhibitors.
I imagine he's like, I don't want to say like a bro tank, but he's like just sleeveless and
not
just
sleeveless. But it's more. He has his robes, and the robes just aren't covering his arms.
They almost look like torn, even maybe.
Maybe.
But they're either torn and they're more revealing, or he's full on giant arms.
Ben Swallow.
Ben Swallow's been hitting the freaking gym. He's just sitting there like, yeah, you will lose, man. You see these gains? You don't got them. Like, just... Anyway, so we're just saying... So I want to ask, when Iron Man in the second movie, it's the... crap, what's in Iron Man's chest?
Arc reactor.
The arc reactor. You know how it's infecting him?
Yes.
I've imagined that it's kind of doing the same thing to Kylo. Did you agree with that or no?
I don't.
Okay, so it's perfectly fine to him. It's not killing him.
For me, I'm imagining he has these little metal plates on the outside of his arm, and there's a little divot in the plate where the Force inhibitor sits. And then we can see little wires and stuff coming out from the little plates into his arm.
Arms are almost parts of his arm are now cybernetic.
No. It's they're very small. Remember, they're the rods themselves are only like 6 inches long and half an inch wide.
Yeah. Like a Wii remote.
That's
really fat. That's
way
really
fat.
It's too,
like your pen.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, a lot like that pen.
Really?
Maybe the width of that battery.
Okay, width of that
but
battery.
as long as that.
Really?
As the pen. Yes.
How about a foot? No. Yeah, because most of us.
Yeah.
For everyone who's out there listening, I am like putting a pen up to my arm. Yeah.
Yep.
We're not comparing arm sizes here. It's fine. But wow.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's what I'm imagining. And
but you can just tell. So people could tell that he has been augmenting himself. There's something going in his arms. It doesn't look right.
His arms are bigger. He looks. He does look. For lack of a better term, he looks swole.
He is Ben Solo.
He is Ben Solo.
I actually wouldn't mind that because I don't really think I ever see like muscular on a Jedi or a Sith. Because why would a Jedi or a Sith need to be muscular? Why? They don't need to be hitting the gym. But can you imagine just how intimidating? Just ooh. Okay.
Yeah. So that's
okay. Sorry,
what I'm imagining.
I am going in my head. He full on has the ripped arms, and he's still scary, and he's got the gown.
And he's still got his helmet.
And he's still got his helmet, but I just imagine these two just massive arms, like the lightsaber looks puny in his hands because he's so like this thing is. And now he sounds like Arnold. You are nothing to me. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah. But I think it's not funny because it's scary to see what he's done. Yeah. These poor Jedi, some of them various ages, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And he will, he'll cut down the one Jedi, as I said, and then the other one will leap at Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren will turn off his lightsaber and just his other hand. No, he won't turn off the lightsaber. I want to emphasize how powerful he is now that he is enhanced.
Just have the man freeze in midair.
He flicks his hand, and the other Jedi goes flying into they're in ruins.
Yeah. So it just looks so nonchalant.
He will go flying, yes, very nonchalant. Flick of the wrist.
You can even make him
Jedi Stefan goes flying into the wall, through the wall, and through several other walls. Very, very
Incredibles?
Much like Incredibles.
Okay.
Flying through, and then part of the ruins collapse on that poor Jedi.
You could even make it so I totally imagine Incredibles-like scene. Jedi Stefan jumps, freezes midair, just like the Kylo Ren freezing the bolt, but opposite. Freezes, and Kylo Ren slowly turns around. We're not going to get any epic words. We're not going to get anything. We're just going to see him stare at the Jedi, and I think maybe Kylo's now realizing, oh crap, I'm getting really strong. But in this moment, he's just, I imagine, guy, wah, like, no, what was his name? Bobby! Like, coming in, trying to avenge his brother, and then freezes midair. Can't move, nothing. The only thing moving is his eyes. His lightsaber turns off. That'd be terrifying. Mm-hmm. and then Kylo Ren slowly turns around, maybe not even fully, and just, and then that would happen. I think that would be...
Turns to look at him, turns away, starts walking away, and then flicks his
yes,
and
that
then
would
flicks
be
his
that.
wrist, and he goes flying.
And yeah, I think everyone's like, oh, he's gonna go into the wall. No, there is no more wall because Jedi Stefan turned into the wall, and his pieces are everywhere.
Except we won't see his pieces.
No, but if this was rated R movie, that would be terrible.
Yeah,
that's a very icky. That's squash tomato right there.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, so that's we would see that, and then Kylo Ren would walk away, and he'd get into his ship and fly away.
So did he just get another thing, or what was he doing?
As he's flying away, we'll get a good look, and this is another Jedi temple.
So he's just laying waste to the Jedi.
He's laying waste to the Jedi.
So he's head on. Wow. Oh, you gotta have. Oh, they just got out of this, and he's just hunting down, and he doesn't even have an apprentice. He's just like, I will do it alone.
He's his own.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I want to kind of know now, since we might not hear it this episode, but does he sound like wrong now? Like, does he sound like something? Would you say he sounds normal, or is there something?
He sounds
like
sounds normal, but more almost.
Because I imagine
there's
kind
almost
of
like
Venom.
Almost like a whispery echo. Just very, very slight.
Ooh, like it tickles your ears in that whispery way.
Uh-huh.
Like it just travels through the air and just pierces your ear.
Yes.
You could even be whispering and you're like, yeah!
Yeah,
I like it.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. Oh, that would be more scary. He doesn't scream anymore. He doesn't even talk aloud. He just stays here, and it's just right in your ear. That would be scary. I would watch a movie like that. The whole theater. He's in our head!
Yeah. So he'll fly away. Crumbling ruins behind him.
At this point, he's just flying by himself. I'm just kidding.
And
I believe
he'll land. He'll fly, and he will. I guess I should say this: as he gets into the atmosphere, as he enters or exits the atmosphere, he pulls out the Sith Wayfinder that we see in Episode 9. It looks very similar to a Jedi holocron or a Sith holocron.
I didn't see the night.
Three-sided pyramid.
Oh, okay.
And he will hook it up to his ship, and he'll fly to Exegol, which is a Sith planet. Very, very strong in the dark side of the Force. And
there has to be balance, Tim. That's what I'm torn about, though. There isn't balance in the Force right now, is there? I don't get it. I don't get what that means by balance. Because does it mean that it has to be 2 and 2? I've never understood that about Star Wars. It's so greedy.
I don't know.
Or is he just that strong enough now because he's making up for how many Jedi there are? Like that doesn't.
He's that strong. He's making up for it. Sure.
Because it never makes sense. Because I do believe in Newton's third law. For every action, there must be equal opposite reaction. And I do. And I, being a very Christian, also spiritual kind of person, I believe that energy you put out there's going to be good. There's bad. If you just focus on the bad in the world, you're never going to see the good. If you only focus on the good. Anyway, so it just kind of bugs me when it comes to Star Wars. It's like, oh, Darth Vader brought balance to the Force because he helped kill all the Jedi. And it's like, that's stupid. Anyway, sorry, that's a little Willem why I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan rant. So just to name a few things.
I get you. There's a couple things, but I think the balance is more... I guess it is just pure balance, and that's why in my head canon, and I heard someone else talking about it a while ago. The reason Darth Vader was still, he was still the chosen one. He did bring balance to the Force. He wiped out the Jedi. There were no Sith until he wiped out the Jedi. And then there was still a little bit of good left, not enough to be balanced, but he ended up he did bring balance.
Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to go off on that little rant. It just makes me kind of...
But yeah, so Kylo Ren will fly to Exegol, and he will unload from his ship. He will pull out a small crystal. It looks like a kyber crystal, just a little bit bigger, about the size of your mouse, your computer mouse.
Oh, jeez.
Like, it's not tiny, but it's not a huge. It's not Death Star kyber crystal. He'll pull out one of those, and he will set it on a table, on like a little workbench in a very large workshop, where we can see a bunch of different machines and stuff working, and he'll just set it down. And that's all I'm gonna tease about that for now.
Oh.
And he will be approached by a couple Uz-Un soldiers who are wearing much thicker armor, and they will also be marked with their shoulder pauldrons will have some marking. I haven't decided exactly how I want it to be. It could be that their shoulder pauldrons are made in the shape of Kylo Ren's helmet.
I was really thinking that. I like that. Kylo Ren's helmet almost. Or even just painted on. Not shaping, but just painted. It's like right there.
Something like that. And they will approach him and they'll ask why most of their ships are on Coruscant if he's building a weapon to if he's doing what he is doing to be able to take out Coruscant, to destroy Coruscant.
Yeah.
To destroy the seat of power of the Republic, the New Republic. And he will turn to them and he'll respond by saying something to the effect of, once my weapon is operational, the destruction of Coruscant will... The remains of Coruscant will become the seat of my new empire. Very reminiscent of Emperor Palpatine and how Coruscant became the center of his empire. And he'll turn to them and he'll say something to the effect of, as we speak, the Jedi and their friends are trying to save their home, but it'll be no use. And that's where we're gonna have for today.
Oh. Sorry for yapping, everybody. I know that was a long episode just to hear a good 50...
We've got about half the movie.
Half the movie?
Maybe not quite half.
Still, though, I think it's good, and I know that I ask a lot of questions, and it's because I want to get to know it. I want to ask questions. I'm sorry if I ever overstepped with my questions, but I thought this was a fun episode to talk about, and I love this, especially watching the first episode last night, knowing how much you love the original trilogy, and just how much you know about Star Wars. I feel like this is very much just screams Star Wars. I feel bad though because I imagine it animated, and I need to stop because it's so. I just feel like I now see most of Star Wars as animated because there's so much of it. But I can see it both. I like it, Tim. I think it's good, and I can't wait to see what happens. Because this is the 9th episode, so it's gonna be a good. So next week we'll definitely hit you all up with the ending. So, yeah.
Yeah. With that, I know it's past, but may the 4th be with you. Thanks for your support. Thanks for listening. Ethan and Sam, thank you for your contributions. And everybody who's given me ideas. Dad, I'm looking at you.
We definitely want more.
Thanks. And until next time, love each other, be kind, and may the Force be with you.
Oh, I knew it. Bye, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. We got to end on the iconic way. And with that, everyone, we'll see you later, pitches. Bye.
Bye.